Hey friends, this week we are getting into cover design, and we're going to start by talking about one of the free resources that you can use to create a beautiful cover, and that is Canva. So if we open up our Canva here, let's go ahead and create a new design. And this is the way I like to start creating my cover, and we're going to actually need to make a bigger version of this for your paperback. This is just going to be more of an ebook version of your cover. So we're going to start with a custom size. We're going to make it change it to inches, 6 by 9 inches. And if your book is not 6 by 9 inches, then obviously put in the dimensions of your book. I do need to mention that if you are creating an actual ebook cover, like an ebook that you're uploading to Amazon for Kindle, then your ratio is going to be 1.6 to 1. You can see that here. And the dimensions that we put in for our cover, 6 by 9 inches, do not meet that requirement. The reason why I start with the 6 by 9 inches if my book is a 6 by 9 inch cut is because it makes it really easy to transfer whatever design I put here to transfer it to my paperback. But if you're specifically designing an ebook, then you can copy and paste whatever elements you have here and put them in a different file size. So if we go back home, and this one you may want to do based on pixels, just to make sure that your pixels are, that you've got enough to make a nice resolution to have a good quality image. If you imagine somebody pulling up your ebook cover on a big computer screen and you have really low pixel count, then it's going to look really pixelated. It's going to look really blurry and it's not going to look very nice. But if you've got a higher pixel count, then it's going to look really nice. It's going to look more crisp and clear. And like I said, that 1.6 to 1 ratio is what we're going for. Let's say our width is 2000, then if you multiply that by 1.6, 2000 times 1.6 is 3200. That's going to be your height. And again, that's in pixels. Create new design. And now you have the ebook cover. And as you can see, when you search templates and you type ebook, that's going to be the size of all of these templates here. So if I were to drag one of these in here, it should theoretically match up perfectly with my background, this size that I just created. And we're going to talk about a lot of free resources that you can use to design your cover. So let's just pick a topic. Let's say that our book is about yoga. So maybe I'll come over here to Pexels. Pexels is a free site for photos and videos, and you don't have to pay royalties, you don't have to pay to use a photo at all. It's completely free. They do give you the option of giving credits to the person who took the photo, and I would definitely recommend that. As you know, our fellow creators, then let's definitely give them credit. So let's say we're looking up a yoga photo, so I'm just gonna say yoga. There's a lot of really nice photos here, and these are all free. I'd say for free, these are all pretty nice. But let's just pick one for the sake of our video. We'll just take, we'll take this. I like this one here. And download it. When you download it, it says photo by the person who took the photo from Pexels. And then you can copy that, and then in your book, inside the front cover, you can give them photo credits. And we'll come back to Canva and upload the photo. Now while this is uploading, I'll just explain. You can get the pro version of Canva. I don't have it because I actually use Adobe Creative Cloud, so I use Adobe Illustrator a lot more for my cover designs, but since this is a free resource video, then if you want to use Canva without purchasing or paying the monthly fee for the pro package, there's still a ton of really cool resources, so we're just going to stick with those. But if you are using Canva on a regular basis to create covers for you or for somebody else, then I would say let's definitely get the pro version because there are some pretty cool features. Look at that, that photo actually fit my 6x9 frame perfectly, so that's awesome. Then we're gonna come over here, let's add some text, and we'll just call it the awesome. I like to separate out my words so I can decorate them or format them differently. Awesome book of yoga. Yay. And as you can see, there's these little pink lines that pop up. If it's when you're moving around your text or an image, you want to make sure that it's centered, and when you get that dotted line, it just means that you're centering it in comparison to another element on your page. In this case, you can see the dotted line going down to book of because it's now centered with book of, but we want our word centered to the page, so that's going to be the solid line that's going all the way through the page. That's centered. Now that's centered, and that's centered, okay? If I hold down Shift, I can click multiple things together, and then if I say Command or Control G, that groups it. And now these are all attached and I can move them all around together. If you come up here, right here, it says Ungroup, and that will separate them out again. Okay, Command Z to undo that. And if you select all of them, you can also come up here and say Group. You don't need to do the Command G or Control Z. We'll keep these together for now. And yoga, let's find a different font for that. Not color. We can play around with a few different fonts and see what we like and what we don't like. I'm thinking probably a cursive font for this one. That looks kind of fun. I could make book of a little bigger. Maybe make it match the awesome. Okay, so that looks kind of nice. And we could also change the text color here. What's nice about Canva is it will pre-select some of the colors from your document for you. So if I say that matches, but you can't see it at all, so I'm probably gonna keep it white. But I do have the option as well of coming up here to the color picker, clicking on the eyedropper tool, and finding a color within my background photo that would match really nicely. So maybe more of this peachy color here. See, it looks nice, but again, you can't see it. You can go to effects and add a shadow or a lift. The lift looks really nice because it just makes it stand out. It kind of adds this black coloration behind the word. And we could make it a little darker, make it a little lighter, but see, when it's darker, you can see the title a lot better. So maybe we'll actually stick with that. If you're publishing this on the Amazon, you probably want this to stand out a lot more because people who are scrolling through and they're looking for a book they want to read about yoga, they're gonna, if they're looking at a lot of different covers and they can hardly read the word yoga, then they're probably not going to pick your book. But this looks pretty for now, so we'll stick with this. Now you can also come over here to elements, and there's a lot of really cool things that you can add. So, you know, including free things. There's a lot of pro things as well, but let's say I like looking up leaves. And let's say I pick this leaf and I'm gonna add this to my cover. Okay, now I can change the color of it. We can make that white as well. We can make it more that creamy color, make it brown. We'll keep it at that color for now. And then magic recommendations pops up. So it's gonna pull up in a lot of different leaves now that are drawn in the same style as this leaf. So if I wanted to keep this theme throughout my book, I have all these different options that, you know, say I go to the next page of my book, if I'm designing my book in Canva as well, and I want this leaf on this page, and maybe I want to make it a light gray, and it's just going to be kind of a watermark in the background. As you can see, there's a lot of creative options that you have here that are completely free, which is really nice, and I really do like Canva for that reason. When you're designing inside pages as well, one really great way to break up the space is by adding squares or rectangles, and say you can have some of your text in this part of the page, some of your text in this part of the page. You can do the same thing with your cover, but you can just play around with it. So there's a brief overview of Canva. Another free resource that I wanted to show you is Unsplash. It's a lot like Pexels. So here's Pexels, right, where you've got free photos and videos. Unsplash also has a lot of free resources. And if you can't find what you like on Pexels, go to Unsplash. It's unsplash.com. And then the last thing I needed to go over with you is going back to home, and that would be a nice ebook cover, but if you have a paperback, it's going to wrap all the way around the book, and so you're going to need to calculate how big that cover needs to be, because if you imagine a book that has more pages, you're going to have a thicker spine, which means a longer cover, and you also have to account for bleed. So the easiest way to calculate that is by going to KDP Cover Calculator, and you select your binding type. We're going to do paperback. Interior, we'll pretend like ours is standard color. Paper type, white paper. Now, paper type, you only get the cream option if you have black and white. But we're at cream color. Page turn direction, left to right. Measurement units, inches, if you're in America. Interior trim size. Now this is what I was talking about, how I chose a 6x9 inch book. But you may have an 8x10 inch book, you could have an 8.5 by 11 inch book. We chose 6x9, and then you have to enter your page count. So we'll pretend like we have 142 pages in our book. And then you click calculate dimensions, and it's going to tell you how wide your book cover needs to be for paperback and how tall it needs to be. This one is 12.57 inches. So let's go ahead and create our new design. 12.57 by 9.25. Woo. 9.25. There we go. Create new design. Now, if you don't have the pro version of Canva, it's not going to let you make adjustments to the size of your cover. So make sure that you get it right the first time. If you're not sure what your page count is going to be yet, then maybe just go ahead and put together a cover design, and you can always copy and paste this into a correctly sized document. I've had to do that a few times. And then I'll take my original design, which is not showing up here. It's called the Awesome. And I just clicked and dragged a square over all my elements to select them. It's not going to select the background, and you'll see why. So I'm copying these elements, come over to my new design, and I'm going to paste them in. I'm going to go ahead and group these so they don't get lost. You know, I can move them around together. And then back over here, this did not get copied because it actually became a part of the background. If it was a separate element, I'd be able to move it around, but it's not. This is actually the background right now. But luckily, under uploads, I still have that image, so I can just pull it right back in here. See, if I drag it to the corner, it just fills up the background and becomes the background. I don't want that. I just want it to be a photo. And we'll drag it, and we're gonna send it to the back. Okay, and then this is gonna be centered in the center of the page. You can see it centering in the center of the page, and it's also centering with this picture right here. That looks pretty nice. Then this is where your spine would be here, and this is what the back would be. Now, this is where the cover calculator comes into play again. We are gonna need to download this template, and it's gonna show us exactly what boundaries we need to stay within. Okay, so that's downloaded. I need to open up my file folder and go to downloads. and unzip this file, or extract all. And we'll go back to Canva and upload that file. And then we're gonna drag it, and you can actually make this your background now. You see how I did that? I don't like to, because sometimes I find that it's not exactly the right size, but it's supposed to be. It just doesn't always work out quite that way. Yeah, see, it's the right size. But when I was making it the background, it was taking this black border to the corner, which is not what you want. The black border is gonna be what your text or what your book cover actually is. The outside pink right here, whatever's outside that black border is going to be trimmed off. That's your bleed. And then the inside pink here is kind of your margin. You can't have any text in that pink area at all. So you got to make sure that you're centered nicely within the white area. Because our book has more than 79 pages, we are able to make a spine, and it tells you your spine width right here. And if I had a smaller book, something less than 79 pages, then we would not be able to have a spine, and we could just use a solid color, or it could be a continuation of the front or back cover. I'm going to send this to the back. And our text definitely is well within that boundary, that's for sure. I like to move this down to the bottom of the page, and I'm actually going to bring it back to the front here. And then create an element. And this is if, let's say we don't have this background here. So this worked out really nicely, because this picture was actually 6 by 9 inches. And so we were able to center the text in to this photo itself. But a lot of times you have a background perhaps that wraps around the entire cover. So say this was, you know, like this. Okay, and it was the whole cover. Actually, yeah, let's keep it like that. Let's keep it like that for the sake of this example. And your spine's gonna be here, and this is your back cover now. And if I move this around, if it centers to the image, it's gonna be in the center of the book, which is where your spine is. That's not gonna work. And so I can kind of eyeball it and try to place it right here, but we need to know that it is exactly within the center of the front cover. So we'll create another element here, and we're gonna zoom in just a little bit. And match this square up to the width of the white area on the front cover. So see how I just filled up that white area? Doesn't matter how tall the square is necessarily, and I'm just gonna keep it there. And once we zoom back out, when I move this, remember we're looking for that pink dotted line. Now see how the pink dotted line is going all the way down through that square? That means that it's centered up to that square, which means that it is now centered up to the center of the white space. So this is good. This is right where it needs to be. Now if I want text on the spine, a lot of times I'll reuse the text here so that it matches the front cover. The awesome book of, and we'll actually use yoga as well. And I just need to make this smaller and longer and smaller. Then we'll rotate it to be 90 degrees, and that will go on our cover. And this can be right in the center of the book. That will work just fine. And we'll use this word as well. And sometimes when you're making the spine, in order to make the words stand out more, you may add a transparent background. And this is what it would look like if you did that. Now with this, you would want to match it up to those dotted lines down here. You see that on the pink, in the pink here, we'd make this square about the same width as those dotted lines. I need to zoom in a little bit to do that. It's not letting me make it any smaller. Well, it's being stubborn. Makes me wonder if you did a line, if you would do the same thing. If we created a line and then just made the line thicker, you know what I mean? Yeah, that works. Let's do that. Okay, we're gonna get rid of this square that we put in there. And we're gonna center up our line to the center of the page. Okay, that's centered. Perfect. And then we're just gonna make it thicker until it fills up all the way to the dotted area. Perfect, just like that. Then this we're gonna send to the back. Okay, now we can't see our text, so let's change the color of the line to like a nice dark brown color. Now you can see yoga a lot better. We probably need to move it. And then we'll make this line more transparent. Oh, here it is. Sorry, transparency. So see how we just kind of darkened up the background of that spine a little bit? So that way the words are just a little bit more legible. A couple other options you have is to create a pattern background or to use one of the templates that Canva has provided. So with here, if we get rid of the background, so I just double clicked the background and then I deleted it. If we come over here, we can choose a template. And if you type in ebook, actually this would be better done over here. Okay, so we're gonna get rid of the background and search templates, type in ebook. And as you can see, there's all these pretty little templates. Some of them are pro, which means you have to pay for them, but some of them are free. This one here is free. And let's actually get rid of this. I'll just create a duplicate page and delete the elements that we added. So we could add this. And then you should be able to edit the elements. Yep, there we go. So see, you can change the text. Looks like the background here is not free. You can see the watermark on it. Change the author name. And there's a lot of different templates you can explore. Now, if you don't want to do that, the other option I mentioned was adding a pattern. Just have a white background. So you'd go to elements and you can type in background. And then there's these squares of different patterns. There's a whole bunch of them. You can also type in pattern and you'll get a similar selection here. And you can make this bigger or smaller. And then if you just click and hold then hold down Shift and Alt, and then you can drag it. See how it drags until they're lined up. Ah. And let go of the mouse. There we go. And see how they're really nicely lined up. Then you have kind of this repeating pattern. I'm just selecting both of these and doing the same thing, clicking, holding down Shift and Alt, and dragging them directly down. And then see how I'm just filling up the space here with this repeating pattern. And then after that, you can add text on top of it. Say I don't like this pattern, I'm gonna choose this one here, looks kind of nice. And what's fun with these as well is you can change the colors of some of the individual elements within the pattern. So if I want to use black for the leaves or kind of this light peachy tan color, and then we'll do the same thing, just create a repeating pattern. So see, these patterns were designed to sit right next to each other and just continue. See how they just snap together really nicely like that? And there you go. So you have a nice pattern background, and then you'd come over here and add some text to it, play around with it. You could add a square or a circle behind your text. Maybe have an outline or a border, but as you can see, there's a lot of different stuff you can do here. And then for the back cover, you would insert your book blurb, using the same method to make sure that's nice and center. And that's pretty much it. That's using Canva to create a free cover design.